Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Questions and concerns as 2 new senators are sworn in to the Senate. $4 million sewage fix promised for Trelawny. And later in sports, Shelley and Fraser Price out of Kenya meet due to injury. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. We begin with news that the 2 new government appointees to the Senate announced yesterday were sworn in a short while ago. Abka Fitz-Henley and Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon were sworn in to replace Senators Natalie Campbell-Rodriguez and Leslie Campbell.
I, Dana Marie Elizabeth Morris-Dixon, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica. So help me God.
I, Abka Lincoln Ramon Fitz-Henley, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution and laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica. So help me God.
I'd like to just offer a brief congratulations to both Dr. Morris Dixon and Senator Abka Fitz-Henley. Welcome you both to the chamber. We trust that the manner in which you have carried out your allotted task elsewhere in the private sector and the manner in which you have approached your various professions elsewhere, we trust that that enthusiasm and competence will be brought into this chamber to the benefit of this Jamaica land we love.
In the meantime, there are concerns this afternoon about the new appointments to the Senate by Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Thursday. For political commentator Damon Gordon, appointments to the upper house should add value and the individuals should be able to move the country's legislative and policy agendas forward.
I mean, the fact that you're from a particular professional background and you may have faced our name recognition, that in itself does not mean that you have demonstrated the capacity to engage with these important legislative policy development and governance issues in a profound way which warrants an appointment to the Senate. To give them the benefit of the doubt, though, I am willing to allow them to settle into these roles and evaluate their contributions thereafter. I'm just generally concerned about how we appoint senators, because a senator is a lawmaker and undertakes a very important function.
But another political commentator, Kevin O'Brien Chang, believes the move by the Prime Minister is strategic.
For example, Mr. Fitz-Henley, the JLP clearly needs help with communications. The information minister is pretty good, but one man alone can't do the job. So that one, it's perfect sense.
Mr. Gardner, who was speaking on the morning agenda on Power 106, says the appointments will not be without skepticism from Jamaicans.
Oftentimes, the Senate becomes a backdoor for somebody to be appointed or promoted to some other position in government, which means that your role as a senator becomes secondary and not primary. It is something which is seen as not so serious and is preparing for a more serious role. But the business of being a senator is a very serious business, because you're talking about the important matter of the country's legislative agenda. You're talking about constitutional reform. You're talking about issues which affect every single Jamaican. And therefore want to ensure that everybody who's appointed to the senator is somebody who takes the role of a senator very seriously.
Farmers in St. Elizabeth are having mixed reactions to the announcement that the price of fertilizer will be reduced. But even as they consider that change, they point out that the lack of water remains a major challenge for them. The details in this report. On May 2, Agriculture Minister Pernell Charles Jr., in his sectoral debate presentation in Parliament, announced a 22% reduction in granular fertilizer. This would have taken effect on May 3. Some farmers in St. Elizabeth have welcomed the news.
I'm glad for years that the price a drop. I don't know how short it is, but I really like to know say boy there's a cut in it because it's sticky when you buy one bag of fertilizer for 14,000. You understand me? Sometimes you set the crop and you don't even get it. But to a hit you do, you have to stick in it. Yeah. But it's a welcome initiative when me da have to say roll out for real. Me da appreciate it. Yeah. And me da really like the government for looking at all small farmers and help them, especially in the manure division. You understand me? Because we try, because we don't like thieves, so we dig deep for what we want.
That did one of the things which are much way up, right? The fertilizer did really get out of hand from right? From one time I did look funny and I say, boy, life farming are going back to the big man. And when they look funny, say poor man I go lick out of it if the fertilizer did continue like that. You understand? So it's a great thing on the rollback.
But some farmers are not so happy. They argue that the price is still too high.
It is the one where you can't manage, you know, the fertilizer. Groundnut alone is about 14,000 a bag fertilizer reach.
But no, the minister said we're taking off at 22.7%.
Yeah, but when you say 22.7, how much take off height? How much they drop off? Then come today, they say drop off $2. By tomorrow, they then put on back, they go back where that come from.
So it does make sense, or you like it?
No, but it don't make sense if you grab when they drop off height. But the idea that you go back out of the same fertilizer, then put it back on the same system where they for a longer time. So if you just go on with it, we go on with your camera.
Meanwhile, farmers say water is still a challenge for them as they tend to their crops.
Some water system for my place. Yeah, but which part me there, it kind of is a remote area, forget the water there, so. You understand? But if me get a black drum or something like that, me that do much better. You understand me? Yeah. But so far, me not complain with the level of rainfall because we know say on the south side, when it come June, July, I feel we sticky time. So we just have to stick it out and wait till when September, October. That's after we rainy season time.
Some $4 million will be allocated to fix the sewage system in Falmouth, Trelawny. That announcement was made by local government minister Desmond McKenzie recently. Details in this report. The parish of Trelawny has been grappling with a sewage problem for years, with the problem worsening over time. But local government minister Desmond McKenzie says a meeting was held to discuss the issue.
The meeting was a fruitful one, and arising out of that, a committee was set up between the Ministry of Local Government, the Trelawny Municipal Corporation, and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation to look at the issues, and they have been meeting over a number of weeks. A number of steps have been taken to try to alleviate the problems on a short-term basis.
Mr. McKenzie was speaking during the official opening ceremony for the Falmouth Homeless Shelter recently. Mr. McKenzie says the problem won't be fixed overnight. He says it will take some time to rectify the matter.
There is an agreement between the National Water Commission and the Municipal Corporation for continuous cleaning of the system. The Ministry of Local Government is therefore going to be providing some $4 million to the Municipal Corporation to assist in the cleaning, for hiring the Vector truck to do the cleaning that is required to prevent flooding from taking place within the town of Falmouth with sewage.
Meanwhile, the Falmouth homeless shelter was constructed at a cost of $25 million. It will provide temporary shelter, meals, and bathroom amenities for homeless people of Falmouth and its environs. The facility was constructed to accommodate up to 20 persons at a time, 14 males and 6 females.
Outside of the shelter in Kingston, Falmouth is the first capital parish in Jamaica to have one of these night shelters built in your parish.
A councillor in St. Thomas is raising concerns about police protocol in transporting injured persons to hospital. It follows Wednesday's fatal shooting of a mentally ill man on West Street in Morant Bay. 36-year-old Kamik Bloomfield, better known as Chuchu, was shot after he reportedly approached the security guard while he was servicing an automated teller machine about 2:23 in the afternoon.
We can safely say it's an imitation firearm. And he was cautioned and he pointed the firearm at the security officer. And the security officer, well, discharged his firearm, which hit this person. This person fell.
The time they took to take up that person from the ground and the manner in which the person was sort of forced into the back of that vehicle, it is inappropriate. Because at the time, even though he was presumed dead, he was not declared dead. And so I have an issue the way in which the police officers lift that person and poke him into the vehicle as if he was declared dead by a doctor on this one. So if it is that you scorn blood, then you must be prepared if you are going on this one where there is a shooting or anything to do with blood, to travel with your latex glove to ensure that you can hold the victim properly, to ensure that that person is properly placed in whatever vehicle it is to be taken to the hospital.
The matter was raised at the latest Municipal Corporation meeting where Deputy Superintendent O'Neill Thompson promised to look into the councillors' concerns. Reactions this afternoon to the announcement that Cabinet has given approval for the use of renewable energy sources to replace 171.5 megawatts of power capacity from Jamaica Public Service Company's aging power generation plants. President and CEO of the Jamaica Energy Partners Group, Wayne Mackenzie, while welcoming the news, stressed the need for focus to be replaced on containing the price of electricity.
Renewable strategy. The thing that we now need to do is to balance that though, because on one side we have the issue of cost and equity to ratepayer, but on the other side we have grid security as well. Jamaica is the transmission network that we have and the demand load center that we have still needs some amount of thermal support before we get to 100% renewable.
With questions about the cost to the country and how Jamaicans may be impacted, he says the renewable strategy should be implemented in phases.
Yes. And the demand is low, then it's going to be expensive. So that's where you have to balance it. The price might not be expensive, but the aggregate cost to the ratepayer can be expensive if it's not dispatched properly.
It's now time for the Business Minute.
Jamaican manufacturer and distributor Wisynco Group experienced higher profits in its third quarter ended March. After provision for taxes, the company's profit for the 3 months reached $1.2 billion compared to $831 million in the corresponding period of 2022. Additionally, revenues for the quarter increased by $2.3 billion compared to the previous year. The total income for the quarter amounted to $12 billion, whereas in the same quarter last year, total revenues were valued at $9.7 billion. Wisynco says it's currently undergoing capital expansion activities, which are expected to yield benefits by the middle of fiscal year 2024. The company expressed that it remains optimistic about embarking on its largest capital expansion to date, which it says will increase flexibility and output, meet market demands, and assist future growth and innovation plans. Further afield, shares of PacWest Bank Corp tumbled on Thursday after the regional bank reported that customers had recently drawn down about 9.5% of total deposits. The bank stock briefly fell 30% before being halted for volatility on Thursday. Now shares resumed trading and finished down about 23%. PacWest is one of several mid-sized lenders that has been under intense scrutiny in the weeks since Silicon Valley Bank collapsed on March 10, setting off a panic around the financial stability of similarly positioned banks. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm O'Shane Masters.
Thank you, O'Shane. And now for the top regional and international stories.
In regional news, more than 115,000 children in Haiti are expected to suffer severe wasting from malnutrition this year. That's according to the United Nations Children's Agency UNICEF, as an escalation of armed violence worsens food insecurity and a cholera outbreak. It also says that number is more than 30% higher than the 87,500 children UNICEF registered as suffering from the condition last year. Heavily armed gangs have taken control of large swaths of the Caribbean nation, with much of the violence centered in the capital Port-au-Prince, where the UN estimates more than 600 people were killed in April alone. UNICEF released its study days after the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights renewed calls for an international force to support Haiti's fight against armed gangs. In the United States, Title 42, the pandemic-era policy that immediately expels migrants without providing asylum hearings, has expired. Title 8, the immigration law in place before the pandemic, replaces Title 42. Under Title 8, migrants are allowed once again to apply for legal pathways to enter the U.S. Homeland Security officials predict 10,000 migrants will now try to cross into the U.S. each day. The numbers already surpassed that, with 11,000 apprehended Tuesday and Wednesday. Many new arrivals are fearful and uncertain about what will happen if they turn themselves in to immigration officials. News further afield, Pakistan's ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan is to be freed from custody a day after the Supreme Court ruled his dramatic arrest on corruption charges was illegal. Judges granted Mr. Khan protected bail, meaning he cannot be rearrested on those charges until May 17. Earlier, Mr. Khan said he feared he would be detained again immediately after his release. Despite the ruling, the corruption charges against Mr. Khan still stand. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Hal Shane Burke.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Jermaine Brown.